Hey, DJ. Just came up with that.
You were not the first.
I imagine so.
I'm not sure anybody actually knew my first name in college.
One
Yeah,
one office, there was like it was a small office, like maybe 75 people total, and like there was like five Brians. So I was just BG.
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's you get those common names, and you got to differentiate somehow.
Yep.
Uh, I think we're gonna have to like David Tessar being a PM in our group. We may have to actually just have him move on somewhere else because it's just too many Davids. All right, you have a meeting and you got David.
Yep.
Uh, I don't think we're gonna have Joe today, and I expect this is probably gonna be a small group. Um, have you looked at any of the? Have you looked at the Google Doc? Let me pull that up.
I was just about to do that, and then I got distracted and did something else.
Every day, all day.
Doesn't look like
Um,
anybody has an agenda here.
no, I don't believe so. So I'm gonna throw one in there. Uh, do you want to host or do you want me to? I'll just do it. I don't even have to erase your name. It's already there.
Perfect. I saw it pop popular. Like, oh,
There you go. Um, I'm going to go with we don't have any new members today. I will give the spiel just for the intro and for propriety reasons. Hello, this is the Run WASI meeting. We are a CNCF subproject under Container D, which means as you join, please be kind, raise your hand to be recognized if there is an ongoing discussion. Um, and yeah, let's do our best to be our best selves in our community. Okay. With that, recognizing that it's March 26th, we do not have any major topics to cover. Brian, do you have any topics that you would like to cover?
no, just for listeners, check out the new release. Assuming we
Oh,
have
that's a really good
listeners,
point.
which has support for precompiling WASM modules and reusing precompiled WASM modules, that is.
What does that do? If anybody is watching, uh, how does that work? What does it do? Like, can you explain that to me?
Sure. So in the past, what we've done is, you package an image, you get your WASM modules in it. Those are non-compiled WASM modules. I mean, you've compiled some language to WASM, but it's not compiled for the architecture and all that. So when you go to spin up the container with the WASM stuff in it, we have to take the WASM and compile it for the current host. And that certainly takes extra time during the startup phase. So what James actually did is he made it so I would say his last name, but I'm going to mispronounce it, and I'm afraid. Uh,
Sturvant?
yes, that's the one. Sorry, James. Uh, so what James did is he made it so we can at startup time we can look see what image it is, go and look at the different layers, and instead of just always compiling it and going, we go back and ask containerd, hey, do you have the content that is the precompiled version of this? And if it has it, it just fetches that from containerd and uses that. Otherwise, it'll go compile it and stuff it back into containerd so a subsequent run can make use of that. So anything that's using that exact layer on that host can reuse that precompiled content. And we see uh, not entirely significant, but not insignificant startup time savings with that. And of course, I guess the longer your compile time, the better that's going to be, just depending on what you're compiling.
That's cool stuff. That was also something that was demonstrated, I think, at KubeCon, right? Let me see if I can hunt down that link and throw it in the docs. But recently in KubeCon, that was part of one of the keynotes, I think, for SpinCube. I'm not sure it was really called out there, but the results were evident from, I believe it was Zeiss, was the partner that was out there for KubeCon, or for the keynote, excuse me. All right. I like when they replace these, like in the Google Doc, when they replace the URIs with actual like chips. They call them
Yeah,
chips. They're like UI items.
that's the first time I've seen that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice. It doesn't work right away for YouTube videos. It takes a little bit for it to like for the Googles to catch up. But when it does, it's really nice. Yeah.
Well, that's two different teams, so it can't be instant.
I mean, could take years
Sorry,
at
no shade.
Microsoft. I'm sure everybody lives in that situation at their own employer. Um, awesome. Anything we want to cover? Any more items to cover there?
I cannot think of anything.
Okay,
I guess it looks
that was
like
a
we
pretty
might be,
significant.
yeah, it looks like they're like going to be working on cutting new releases of the Deus Labs Wasm shims with the updated stuff on Winwazi here soon as well. So
Yeah, I have actually on the note of releases. They have been unstable. So we've had a couple of issues with our release workflows. So as part of that, I'm working on a PR to change around the way our release workflow works. So in Run WASI, we apply a tag. So there's a first run of the release work, or there's a first commit that goes with the release. You go in and you update the crate version. You make the PR, you pull in that PR, and then a maintainer has to go and tag. And then the tag kicks off the release workflow, which the release workflow goes through, rips apart the tag to get the crate, the runtime, and a bunch of other information, and verifies the version, and then does a build, produces the artifacts, signs them, and then pushes them out eventually to either crates or as binaries. So this has not this has run into a few issues at some points. So I'm reworking it right now to, instead of going through and you have to create the commit with the version changes and do the pull request, I'm turning it into a workflow dispatch workflow that'll do the version updates. We'll do the tagging. We'll do all that stuff for you, and you can do it through the GitHub UI instead of a multiple step process. What do you think about that, Brian? Do you think that sounds like a reasonable approach? Do you like the tagging? Do you like the PR for the version and then the tag? Does it worry you that a workflow dispatch would update, create a commit and a tag?
Does it worry me? I think in practice, it's probably going to be fine. I think the worry wart in me is like, maybe. I've definitely seen some other workflows where it's like it's driven by PR by a bot, um, which is interesting, although complicated. But I mean, I guess anything. So right when the release workflow was first started, it was like one shim and that's it. So
Yes.
yeah, it's gotten a lot more complicated since we have a lot more shims now and testing crates and stuff that don't get released to crates.io and actually every time I feel like every time we add a crate, that's like the next release is broken.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we're looking at these, like, so we have the test modules crate. The test modules crate is a dependency of other crates. So if we go through and we run the release and one of those crates fail, like hey, I'm dependent on version X+1 of the test modules crate, and that hasn't been pushed yet. I have it locally, but I haven't pushed it out to crates.io. And everything builds fine locally. It's just then when I go and do the crates push, crate says, hey, I don't know about that thing. I'm
Yep.
not going to be able to use it. So we end up with a failure there, and the failure also creates like the release already. So you start to have the release without any binary artifacts, and it's kind of a mess. So I'd really love to get to a point with the release workflow where we don't worry, the mess doesn't get created. We verify, we check, we then make sure we have the right things pushed, and we have enough to be able to do it as a dry run. So we can do it as like, hey, let's just test to see if it's going to work. And then you have enough manual interaction where you could just like say, okay, hey, push this instead of this one, and then I can do the second one after it. So it it isn't, I don't know, it doesn't leave as much trash around, and it's
Mm-hmm.
safer for any new maintainer that we could bring in. Like at the end of the day, I want it to be I want it to be like foolproof as we bring new people on. Like say we get hit by the bus and somebody else has to come in here, it's got to be easy enough for people.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. All right.
I think we could also
Well,
make use of.
I'll
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I
no,
think we
no.
could also make use of GitHub Actions environments too. Like if we wanted like a manual, like okay, yes, actually do this, the real bits here, like to give somebody a chance to like run through. Oh, this dry run did all this. Okay, yeah, looks good. Approve.
Ooh, that's an interesting point. I haven't dug into environments. What do environments do?
It's just I haven't used them. I've seen them for segregating secrets and stuff like that, but it basically requires somebody to, as I recall, it requires somebody to actually go and like, yes, this can run on this environment.
Okay. Because right now, what I set it up in the draft PR is it's just basically a boolean for an input to the workflow dispatch that just says, "Hey, if it's is this a dry run?"
Yes,
and
I
just
have
like
some
skips
pipelines like
over.
that. Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. Okay, um, I will take a look at environments and see what I can do with it. If not, there'll be some if statements in there with if this is a dry run, uh, don't try to publish.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it may end up being like in this environment, dry run is set to true, and this environment, dry run set to false. And
Yeah, that seems totally reasonable too.
yep.
Uh, cool. All right. Well, I'll fill in a little bit of detail there and put a link to the PR. Let's see. Anything else?
When are you starting a podcast? Because you're like good podcast host.
I don't know. I'll have maybe after my son starts high school or something like that. And I have like more time on my hands.
Yeah.
Like right now, summertime is baseball and like it's baseball starts and then my life goes away for about 4 months.
Yeah.
And then I get like a 2 week summer vacation. So maybe after that. Sound good.
Yep.
All right, man. Let's go hack and make the community a little bit better place, huh?
Indeed. All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Brian. It's good to talk
See
to
ya.
you. Later, everybody.